Football show here, Monday edition. He is Zach, I am Braden. We are brought to you by Sinkers and the Kingston Group here. Of course, two locally owned businesses that sponsor this product and allow you to consume it for free every time via podcast, live stream, comments. They're open, Zach. Make sure people get in there. Facebook, YouTube, you name it. You can get involved that way in the show. We do appreciate it when we get to go back and forth with you guys and you tell us how dumb we are. We do appreciate that. Zach, how are you, sir?
Doing good. I'm sure Malik Willis has breathed a sigh of relief just because they just announced that they're going to be able. You could keep 3 quarterbacks active without burning a roster spot on game day. So if you're doing a 53-man roster, that boy Malik Willis is going to make it.
And we're going to talk Malik Willis today. Ian Rappaport, the NFL bylaw on allowing a third quarterback to be active without burning a roster spot was approved per source. So I literally saw that 5 seconds before he went on air, just like you, I imagine. So we shall see. Now, Mel Kiper also had some interesting comments about Malik Willis on Lamestream Sports last week, so we'll talk about that. We'll get into Derrick, the vast, big chunk, main topic, whatever you want to call it today on the show. The Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill thing. I said a couple of weeks ago, Zach, that the Titans are out of the Tannehill-Henry business. Well, is there something they could do? Is there anything that could be done, a situation that could arise where these two guys could find themselves, one or the other, back on the Titans, either earning their way back in or maybe through other methods, still being a part of this team in 2024? So we'll get into that. And then, of course, OTAs begin today. I've already seen all the internet videos of people walking out of a facility and onto a football field. Holy shit.
We did it.
That's happening. But the media will be allowed to watch practice all day on Tuesday, so we'll have a good report for you guys on what we saw on Thursday. But today's conversation around OTA is going to be largely just who needs it the most, who are we watching out for, and Malik Willis is certainly a big part of that conversation. Before we do that, however, we've been teasing this giveaway, Zach. Sinkers Beverages, East Nashville. Sign up for the in-crowd. I'm just going to tell you right now, you're going to have to sign up for the in-crowd to be a part of this potential giveaway / contest / prize. I don't exactly know what we should call it. Just badassery, maybe. I don't know. But we are going to tell you what that is on Thursday. We've finally been given the green light from the suits to tell you what it is on Thursday. You are going to want to tune in. We'll do it at the top of the show. It is going to be I would argue, Zach, the greatest giveaway in the history of sports content.
Yeah, I mean, short of like your preference of a certain concert or something, and typically those are nosebleed seats or not probably good tickets. This is like it's one that if we don't get to partake in the with the winners, I'm going to be very sad, and I'm going to wish that we had won and we had saved this for ourselves because this is that good. This is tremendous. You need to have your June calendar for the end of June. You need to go ahead and clear your schedules. I don't know when it's actually going to take place or anything like that, but you have to go ahead and clear your schedules, and you have to go join the in-crowd, because those two things are going to matter for this contest. If you are not a member of the in-crowd and you are not a listener or watcher of the show, you're not going to, obviously, if you're not listening or watching the show, you're not going to even know this existed. But if it goes on Twitter, whatever.
Sure.
Football and other F words, we'll have one. A football show will also have one. So there are going to be 2 winners. One for Bluegrass and one for Sinkers, but they both are related. So join the in-crowd.
You have to go into one of those 2 locations. It's right there at the register. All you do is give them your phone number. There's not like you're not giving like your third child away and like a social security number, none of that. It's just a phone number. They don't bother you. They don't text you. There's nothing there. They're just tracking all your purchases to make sure that make sure when there's something in stock that you like. Also, they allow free VIP allocations, testings. They give free testings at their locations. No, tastings, opportunities to win things like tickets to come to the draft party, things like that. But this is going to be, I mean, listen, I've worked in this business a long time. I'm not sure I've ever given away anything like this because I'm with you. I am openly campaigning to allow myself to go on this particular thing. I almost just gave it away.
Let me say this. If you are an out-of-town listener or watcher of this show and you've been looking for an excuse to come down to Nashville, Bears start looking maybe to possibly asking off work in the end of June. That's all I'm
just that's perfect. That's perfect. And of course, Kingston Group, they're not giving away any houses, but they do give away free advice all the time. All the time. If you've got questions about your house, they will help you. They will help you find the right person. And even like if they can't do the thing, do the work, do the construction, do the renovation, buy or sell or whatever, like they will help you. Like we are literally looking at like trying to solve a problem with like my wife's family, trying to buy like a house or maybe do something with like a lake house because we want a place for the family to gather. Like the Kingston Group is talking us through like tax problems with buying and selling land right now. Like they will help you with almost anything. They are Nashville's locally owned custom home and remodeling firm. They are awesome at what they do, and they will help you whatever your problem is. So just remember that name, the Kingston Group, and give them a call and ask them what you got going on. D Good, yes. Eyeball emoji for the giveaway on Thursday. It's that we're not going to give it away on Thursday. We get to announce it finally on Thursday, which I'm super excited about. So Sinkers Beverages and the Kingston Group. All right, who needs OTAs the most? Practice, of course, begins on Monday, and then it's on Tuesday, and then there's like a day off, and then it's like the 25th, and then there's like some days off, and then they're back, and then there's a break, and then there's like mini camp. So what is it that you are most looking forward to? Who are the people that need this practice, need to stand out at this practice the most on this Tennessee Titans roster in 2023?
Whew. I've been thinking about this question for pretty much all day, and I'm like, I got a list of like 20 players that desperately need OTAs. Basically, the only people that don't need is Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. Yeah, I think that's pretty
Kevin
much.
Byard?
Well, Kevin Byard may not even show up. Who knows? We haven't got confirmation he's there. I don't know if he's had a walkout video, but we know Derrick Henry has.
And
yeah, you could throw Kevin Byard and Jeffrey Simmons in there. I mean, Danico Autry, he doesn't need. So there's like 5 players that don't need OTAs, and I call it in this little scroll that we have going down. What do you need to pay attention to in this start to an already pivotal offseason? So like this is already a pivotal offseason for the Tennessee Titans because fork in the road, we're at a crossroads, whatever you want to call it. That's what the Titans have said that they are at. That's what they've shown that they're at. They're kind of like half foot in, half foot out, of the rebuild, restart, whatever, glow up, blow up, whatever you want to call it. So like it's pivotal for everybody, right? Like all your second rounder or second year rookies, or I guess they're not rookies, but your second year players, I think they're at the top of the list. NPF has got to look improved. Roger McCreary has to look in shape. Same with the Treylon Burks, the same with Chig Okonkwo. Like those 4 guys are starters. So those 4 guys are second year starters. And I guess let's just start there. Treylon Burks has to stay out available at every OTAs because the first time they do a little mystery illness and they don't say, well, we're only going to talk about the players that are out there today instead of saying, hey, we just gave him a veteran rest day, is going to keep it open for speculation. Nobody needs a stellar start to the offseason in front of the media more than Treylon Burks.
Yeah, the 2 categories, like you, I've kind of been thinking about this, like trying to organize it. And of the 53, there's like 7 that this isn't that important to. So like for like 46 of them are pretty important. and I the 2, I kind of bucketed them into
Dropped
2
them
categories. Yeah, easy for me to say. Into 2 big categories. One was second year players. Absolutely, like at the top of the list. I completely agree. Some more than others. But certainly second year players need to show the progress that you normally get from year 1 to year 2, a grasp, and especially with a new system and a new offense. Rebuild on the fly is another term that I like to use. I think is they're trying to do a rebuild on the fly, which sometimes works brilliantly and sometimes doesn't work at all. It certainly is more doable in the NFL than any other sport. But the other bucket is sort of like they signed a lot of new players, so the new players need to acclimate quickly. But I think they're also they're not like young players. They're not rookies, but they're also not like 34-year-old veterans either. There's a lot of like youth in
I
some
think
of
Brunskill's the oldest. He's about to turn 29.
Right. So like maybe I'm not as worried about him, but Arden Key, Azeez Al-Shaeer, the names that they brought in, the young Chris, I would even put Chris Moore into this category. Just new veterans and second-year players were the 2 categories that I kept landing on. There's another like
I got another category for you.
I know there's another category, and it's like busted up dudes.
Well, to me,
they're
it's
not
like
practicing.
To me, it's your Monty Rice category. Like Monty Rice, Dillon Radunz, the holdovers from bad draft classes that have still stuck around. Racey McMath. I mean, you go through that list of people that are still on this team from that 2020, 2021 draft class. I mean, hell, throw in Kristian Fulton in there. Kristian Fulton, Elijah Molden, Monty Rice, Rashad Weaver, Racey McMath. I mean, it's Caleb Farley. I mean, essentially Dillon Radunz. I mean, the list goes on that there are still holdovers from two pretty bad draft classes that have failed to contribute on a consistent year-to-year basis out of those guys. And that's like one other bucket. It's like you're inconsistent, often injured, underwhelming previous draft class that are still employed.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
No, and actually it's funny that you say the names that you did, because a lot of those guys I would say were like part of the reasons I want to see them playing well or doing well, or even if they're on the side, it is because of the injuries. It is because Dillon Radunz, Caleb Farley, Elijah Molden, so many injuries. Like Monty Rice dealt with a lot of injuries so far. Like even Fulton, I think we can get into this. I think this is an interesting discussion, because I don't think, like Rashad Weaver, not a ton of injuries, but a guy who's like battling for a position, right? Kristian Fulton, I don't think, is battling for a position.
No, but he's got to stay healthy, and he's got to prove he's got a lot to prove this year. I mean, they're basically making a decision on what he is for this team, not only for this year, but for next year and beyond. And, you know, if he starts getting hamstring and cramps and groin injuries all through the offseason, you're talking about a guy that's already been brought up for those things by the head coach twice, named, called out. That it's important that he, like Treylon Burks, goes through the offseason without a hitch.
All right, let me ask you sort of in a different way then, because I do want to kind of go back to I agree with you in Burks that Burks can just kind of shut everybody up by just doing the regular thing for a couple of weeks.
And really, it's about shutting the media up, right? Like,
right.
At this is how many times y'all get to go for OTAs? Just this one day this week?
I think it's just Tuesday, I think.
Okay, so they got one day for all these guys to make a good impression. And if the Titans decide to hold out Treylon Burks on Tuesday when the media is there and they don't give you all a reason, fire raining down from the heavens onto St. Thomas Sports Park and on the airwaves, just dragons spewing flame and fire and vitriol, because you guys need it. Like, not only does he need it and the Titans need it, but they all need, like, Treylon Burks needs to perform out in front of you guys.
Yes, I agree. I also would not put it past Vrabel to troll all of us, fans and media included, to not have him out there. Again, I think he will be, but I'm just saying in general, I've seen moments where I felt like, I think Vrabel's doing this on purpose. The problem with that is I think he knows this if he thought about it, but generally when he does that, it's good for us in the media. It drives clicks, it gets traffic, it drives interest, it creates a talking point and a storyline that we get to argue about.
It's not the talking point you should want.
I agree.
If you're really trolling, if Mike Vrabel's really trolling, which I do think that he does troll sometimes, this is not the narrative you want out there.
No, that's true.
At all about a player. That hurts the player more than it, pokes fun at the media.
Well, and it puts a lot of pressure on the player to perform when he is more visible in camp and the practice is open every day and we're watching everything all the time. I'll say so. I think the guys, like the second year players, very important to show growth. New free agents, really important to get acclimated. But I don't think any of the second-year players or the new players are in danger of getting cut. Like the big-name guys, like the top 3 or 4 draft picks, and then, Dillard, Key, Al-Shaeer, like Brunskill, those guys aren't going to get cut. I don't think Kristian Fulton is in any danger of getting cut. Like, he's not going to not make the 53 at the end of camp. But
he could get traded.
Maybe, but again, I'm just saying what he does in this week of practice and like next week, let's say in 2 weeks, if he's not perfect or great or up to speed, like he's not getting cut. But
if he gets injured, that's a huge issue. I mean, that's what we got. We're talking about what to watch for. Kristian Fulton needs to be out there full strength, 100%, not getting injured.
Okay, you can convince me on that part. I got no problem with that. What I'm saying is, what I think is like a player like Rashad Weaver, a player like I'm trying to think like Racing
I mean,
McMaster.
Rashad Weaver's making the team.
I think so too. But if you go one step below him and you start to look at other players like whether it's Jamarco Jones, whether it's Racing McMath, as you mentioned, Monty Rice, like there's a handful of guys that I think you're not going to get cut this week, but you can begin to put in the coaches' minds that if you don't have a good mini camp and you don't have a good training camp, well, he wasn't good in OTAs either. That gives us 3 sort of bullet points of like, well, this guy probably isn't going to make the team. So like you can't lose your roster spot this week, but you can begin to put yourself in the coach's mind in the wrong spot. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
I don't think that's possible for Rashad Weaver. I don't think that's possible for the second-year players. I don't think that's possible for the free agents or even
I don't know. I mean, like,
Rashad Weaver.
do you think Monty Rice is a lock for this team just because there's nobody behind him? I guess.
He's a great debate. I would say he's not a lock for the team if he puts together a terrible OTA, a terrible mini camp, and a terrible training camp. Could he be in danger of losing a spot? Maybe. But I just think it kind of starts now for those types of guys. Like the last 10 spots on the roster, it starts now. For guys that are in that next 10, right? Let's say spots 30 through 40. It's important, but it's not as like Rashad Weaver's is not going to miss the team in my opinion. Kristian Fulton not going to miss the team.
Massive shock for those two to miss the team.
Good question by D Good, by the way, about the court case.
I mean that's really going to be up. I mean, I guess he would have to be found guilty, but include jail time, because if it's guilty with community service, this team's probably just going to like, yeah, whatever. And the NFL's probably not going to be doing things. So, I mean, like, it's going to have to be guilty with consequences from the court.
Yeah.
It's not gonna, if he's found innocent or the charges are dropped, it doesn't really matter, unfortunately, for something like that in the NFL world. But, like, I'm also interested to see the green dot, right? Like, obviously, David Long was the green dot. Is Azeez Al-Shaeer should be the guy that takes over the green dot, but he's a totally new person in a totally new system. That's important for this defense, and that's I think out of all the free agent signings, right? We know what Arden Key is. We know where Daniel Brunskill slotted. We know Sean Murphy-Bunting is going to be somewhere on the team as far as on the field at some point. Doesn't matter if he's with the ones or with the twos, probably not with his contract. But it all matters for Azeez Al-Shaeer, for him to step into the leadership role, which he seems very well qualified for, to put on the green dot, be able to communicate with 10 other people that he's really never worked with before, outside of maybe Arden Key for like a few defensive series back when they were both on San Francisco.
No, I agree. I think the green dot quarterback of the defense making all the calls, for those that don't know, of course, with the communication to Shane Bowen. I think I completely agree with you. Of all of the free agents, like right guard, who's 29 years old, you plug him in and you're done. You don't worry about it. Arden Key, you sort of know exactly what he is. He's not necessarily being asked to be the number one guy at his position, but he's amongst 2 or 3 guys in a rotation. You know what he is. I think, I think Sean Murphy Bunting's signing, I think, is really good.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I think we've talked about this before, but I think while it's not super, and Dillard, of course, where I think he's going to be your left tackle, and Skoronsky's your left guard.
Yeah.
But we need to see what he can do. Like, I need to see how he fits in and everything. And you're not going to learn much, but you could start to lose a position in OTA. You can't win your position in OTAs, but you can start to lose it. Again, it's all about setting an expectation in the coach's mind for who you are as a player on this roster. And I want to get to the Willis thing in just a second. But am I crazy for thinking that this free agent class is way better than like the national conversation thinks it is? Like, I know it's not big names and a lot of money, but like each one of these guys, I feel pretty comfortable that Shaeer is going to be pretty good at middle linebacker. I feel pretty comfortable that Brunskill is going to be pretty good at right guard. I feel pretty comfortable that Key is a good number 2 pass rusher behind Landry. Like, I feel pretty comfortable about all these guys kind of stepping in and upgrading some positions. I mean, the depth at the corner is better because of what they've got now. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for that.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're crazy at all. I talked about Arden Key and Daniel Brunskill before free agency even started as possible people to bring in and what they could do for this team. I've been a big proponent and big fan of Danny Bruns for a while. And, Mike is like, well, there's no way he's as good as Nate Davis. And I'm like, well, he's different than Nate Davis, but he's better pass protector than Nate Davis is. I mean, that's just facts. Is he a better run blocker? No, but Nate Davis can't stay healthy. That matters. And, what good is a guy when he can't be on the field and be relied on to be in the game? And, he's was not a good pass protector. Nate Davis was not a good pass protector, except for maybe, I guess that would have been the 2020 year. He was really, really good. Other than that, he's been a glorified run blocker. And yes, he's been the best offensive lineman, but look at what he was competing against. Really, to me, Ben Jones has always been by far and away the best offensive lineman.
Yes.
Nate Davis would be the number 2, but based on last year, it wasn't that hard to look good comparatively, but he still was not good pass protecting. And that's what this team has missed. And Daniel Brunskill is going to be, you're not going to miss a beat at the right guard spot. In fact, you should see improvement in the pass protecting. So to me, the long way to say is that Mike is wrong, but also you're right on about this free agency class.
Let's just make sure everything always comes back to Mike Herndon is wrong. There's no question.
He has not been right about one thing so far.
You can listen to him on Football and Other F Words every week from 440 Sports with Zach Lyons and Mike Herndon. Of course, brought to you by Bluegrass Beverages, which is also sister store of Sinkers Beverages, which brings you this show. So make sure you sign up for going to either one of those stores. Bluegrass up there in Hendersonville, Sinkers in East. By the way, you can search Uber Eats for Sinkers Beverages. They will deliver the booze directly to your house, Zach.
They'll drive so you can drink.
2 in a row. And of course, Kingston Group, BuildKG.com, Nashville's locally owned custom home and remodeling firm, award-winning, I might add. In fact, both of our sponsors are award-winning. Zach hosts an award-winning podcast with Mike Herndon. I don't know what we got to do to get a fucking award on this show, but damn. Kingston Group, award-winning. Sinkers Beverages, of course, the 2022 Liquor Store of the Year in East Nashville. And because Stoney agreed with me on this last point I just made, I will remind everyone that Football and Other F Words is an award-winning podcast. I'll just point that out there. So obviously the quarterbacks are going to be a huge conversation point, and we're going to talk a lot about Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill and what they can do, if anything, to keep their careers as Titans going past 2023. But obviously Willis and Levis are a part of this too. Like the rookies, how they function, how they feel. Josh Wiley. I mean, there's a lot of things that I want to see. Skoronski, we think, is penciled in as a starting left guard. Like, there's a lot. The rookies are almost as important as the second-year players as well. So I don't know what you expect to see from Will Levis. I don't know what you're looking for out of Will Levis. I'm
just looking for someone to be better than what Willis was last year out of Will Levis. Yeah. Like, that shouldn't be hard. And really, I am wanting Will Levis or Malik Willis to also look better than he did last year. But better for him is totally different than better than Willis for Levis. So let's go through on that real quick. Essentially, Willis needs to be as good as Levis is at the start of OTAs, heading into training camp. They need to be like on equal footing because Levis is by far way more prepared as a rookie than what Willis was. Now, if he comes in and stinks it up, then Willis definitely has to be better than Will Levis because it clearly shows that Levis is not ready. So it's very important. Right now, I guarantee you they're keeping 3 quarterbacks. I think where Rand Carthon came from and what he saw happen down the line, they're not going to risk letting someone like Malik Willis, if he shows tremendous amount of improvement, and that does not mean that Malik Willis is competing for Ryan Tannehill, because there is nobody competing with Ryan Tannehill. Let's be very clear. We're not going to fall into that trap. There is nobody competing with Ryan Tannehill.
Quarterback competition, question mark?
Yeah. So Willis needs to look exceptional enough to be kept, because if he doesn't, he will be on the road and they'll find a different third quarterback or they'll risk, him being lost to the practice squad.
So, D-Good, a couple quick questions here. Byard can wear the green dot. I think anybody can wear the green dot on defense, but only one player can wear the green dot. It's just who communicates to the coaching
Byard's
staff.
also, got shipped to OTAs.
Well, that's also a point. I'm just saying, legally, any one defensive player can wear the green dot. Generally, the middle linebacker is making the calls on the defense, so
right.
that's why they generally wear it. But a safety could probably do that as well. There's plenty of great safeties that are qualified. He is certainly one of them. And he said he listened to the Kuiper pod. Great stuff. Thank you. We appreciate that. Go listen, Lamestream Sports. He basically said, and I asked him, what is the difference in the evaluation of Will Levis coming out of college and Malik Willis? Why were they so different, right? Because like some of the things that people, if you look at them, both big, strong arms, both athletic, certainly one is a very different size than the other, but sort of like making mistakes, right? Throwing the football. Like there is some overlap in their evaluation. And what Mel Kiper said during that interview, I recommend going and listening to it, is that they just never were graded out in the same place in the NFL's mind. Like Levis was a mid to high first round pick. Certainly he fell. Willis was a late first, late second round pick. He fell into the third. He was always going to need time. Levis doesn't need as much time for a lot of different reasons. And so the question is, how big? I want to see, one of the most important things I'm looking at is how big is the gap right now today? Like how big is the gap when they both take the same rep? How big is the gap? I know what the gap was in my mind when I saw Willis for the first time at rookie camp last year and when I saw him from Willis. Again, just one practice against air, no pads. But I could see a difference, even just with footwork. You could see a difference. So how do they look next to each other? Running the same drill, I think, is important. And how does Malik Willis look differently from last year, I think is what you're saying as well. Like how far has he come? How much has he progressed? And has he closed the gap? Because I agree, and we'll get to this kind of transitions us a little bit into the next topic, that I do not think anyone is taking Ryan Tannehill's job if he's healthy. Like, end of discussion. But I don't think Ryan Tannehill is here longer than 17 more games or one regular season. I think they are not in the Ryan Tannehill business anymore. They have drafted a quarterback.
Before we get to that, there's two things that you could start to see from OTAs. One of them, Brendan Carter brings up, Tier Tart's status. Is he going to show up? Because that's important for everybody to pay attention to. Because if he's doing a little holdout, that will probably end poorly for him. And then it's something that we haven't really talked about. Nobody's really touched on, but we're working on the brain trust of me, Trey, and Stoney are kind of like popping around ideas about this. What is Shane Bullen without Jim Schwartz? What is this defense without Jim Schwartz? And nobody's talking about it. And you're going to get your first glimpse of, is the wide nine still going to be used as what it was last year? What's this defense going to look like? How smoothly is the communication from the sideline to the players? And because there are a few new pieces. So just two little things to keep in mind before we move on to that other next topic.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because defense statistically is far more difficult to replicate from year to year for a variety of reasons. But statistically, offense is far easier to replicate from year to year, based in large part around the quarterback. But in theory, this defensive personnel is not all that different over the last 3 or 4 years. It's largely the same people calling the plays, or at least in some form or fashion, designing and calling the plays. And they've had some very, very different results, right, over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. And so I agree. I think losing Schwartz is a huge factor. And I don't think we've talked about it enough, and I think you're right to bring it up. But as Brandon brings up as well, Titans' new DB coach, Chris Harris, also could be a huge X factor. Almost every position group has a new coach. Almost every single one. So there's a lot of
cooks out on that field, right? Like, I can't wait to see what the structure of a practice where people are having to communicate with players, and who's like, where is Coach Pat, which I feel like he's going to be constantly following Will Levis and Malik Willis as passing game coordinator, whereas Ryan Tannehill's just doing his thing over here without any need for one. Like, that's going to be interesting to see these new dynamics play. Is it too many cooks or just a right amount?
Well, so here's what's interesting. I can just tell you what you would see last year. You would see, and Tim Kelly worked a lot with the tight ends, but he was also kind of like at a distance from the quarterbacks, right? He was always around, but he was kind of like back. And it looked like he was more overseeing the offense. They'd go into 7-on-7, they'd go into team drills, whatever it might be. And Kelly, it'd always be, Downing, O'Hare, Kelly, with O'Hare attached to the quarterbacks, Downing just sort of yelling at everybody. And then you'd have Kelly kind of just lingering. He's always just kind of around in the background, like, oh, talking to this guy. Okay, he's coming off in between reps. We're going to talk to him about something. He was always just kind of around. And it'll be interesting to see, because I don't think O'Hare's role changes much. I think he just stays right there with the quarterbacks, working on the drills, working on the quarterbacks, talking to the quarterbacks. What'd you see? What'd you not see? Where was your progression? Where was your pre-snap key, etc. It'll be interesting to see, because Todd Downing was very vocal guy at practice. You could always tell where Todd Downing was. I'd be interesting to see what Tim Kelly's style is and what he does in these situations. So just worth mentioning all the cooks and where they're going to be. We'll have some analysis for you on Thursday, along with our great announcement of our giveaway from Sinkers Beverages. Kingston Group, also a great sponsor as well. I never thought Malik Willis was not going to be on the team.
Oh, I think there was a good chance that he would not make the team because, I mean, you just don't keep a guy just to keep a guy if he's not going to be any good.
Unless, yes, if he's terrible and they're out on him and they don't like him, then sure, they cut him.
We know they don't like him, so he's going to have to – he has a harder hill to climb than probably any backup quarterback has ever had to climb to stick on the 53. Like, it's a pretty – he's got pretty steep expectations of him, and, I would assume that this pretty much guarantees that he makes the 53, but, we'll see.
So the only reason I say that, and the new rule, I agree with you, all but guarantees it. But here's the reason I would say that. I think you're going to see progress and growth because I think he's a hardworking kid. I think you're going to see it. Is it good enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL? No idea, probably not. But that's not the point. The point is, are you going to see progress and growth? I think so. The key for me is, and this spins us into the next conversation, which is, what does Ryan Tannehill or Derrick Henry have to do to keep on this team longer than just 2023? Both their contracts are up. Titans can get out of both contracts. You guys know all the contract details. I don't think we really need to bring up any of the contract details. But to me, there is clearly a succession plan with Will Levis. Ryan Tannehill is not this. I don't know if there is anything Ryan Tannehill can actually do to keep himself on this roster in 2024, in which case you may want to have the Levis Willis thing for a longer period of time. Maybe he's just your backup plan for the next 8 years. And if that's what he is, okay, he's a pretty talented backup then. So to me, he's more likely to make the roster because of the new rule, but he's also more likely to make the roster because I think they know this is it for Tannehill. Is there anything in your mind that Ryan Tannehill can do that makes it a smart business decision to pay him, extend him, whatever, and keep Will Levis on the bench? I cannot come up with a scenario in which it is smart business to keep Will Levis on the bench for 2 seasons.
Well, I think the first thing would be, what did Will Levis show you behind the scenes? Like, if you want to know how Tannehill sticks around, did Will Levis show you enough? Is he? I mean, because let's say this was the question last year. Let's say last year was Tannehill's final year, and you're talking about Malik Willis versus Ryan Tannehill. And you're saying, well, you can't keep Malik Willis on the bench. Sure shit you can. You may not even keep him on the team right now, and you'd be begging for Ryan Tannehill to stay. Now, I have the utmost faith that Will Levis will probably show enough progress and growth that they'll at least give him a shot. But if Ryan Tannehill goes and wins a playoff game or 2, and likely he would need 2 to make it to the championship game, and Will Levis is just okay behind the scenes, he's not really that great, I could see them doing a short-term deal for Ryan Tannehill. Because Ryan Tannehill is not going to command that much money, because I don't think there's a long-term viability to Ryan Tannehill for any team. And nobody wanted him at $27 million. So nobody's going to want him next year for technically more, because that's what everybody will say. Well, he can get the quarterback market, blah, blah, blah. If the quarterback market is so hot, someone would have traded for him at $27 million. Nobody's going to do that next year.
So
here, sign him.
Yeah. So here's a quick just, and I'm not this. Don't go crazy, folks. I'm not suggesting that Will Levis is Patrick Mahomes. But Alex Smith was a Pro Bowler, 33 years old, had the highest quarterback rating in the entire NFL, and led his team to the playoffs. And they traded his ass. So I'm just saying there is precedent.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I'm not. Yeah, I think everybody knows that.
Tannehill, I don't think. What I'm saying is, if he wins those 2 playoff games, I think he's gone.
It has to be. It has to be. Levis has shown enough to give you exactly what Ryan Tannehill just gave you. Because if Ryan Tannehill got you to the AFC Championship game and you got $100 million sitting in the bank, aren't you thinking, okay, we can push off Levis for 1 more year and we can go get a fucking Super Bowl next year?
Oh God, jeez, man.
That's smart business in my mind.
Okay. All right, it has to be. What I'm saying? No. I follow you. It has
Levis,
to be 2.
I get it. There's a difference between Patrick Mahomes being Patrick Mahomes and Will Levis being Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Yes, and Andy Reid being an offensive wizard that knows exactly what he has. In the first moment before he even drafted him, he knew what he had. So I think it has to be the 2 things. It has to be Ryan Tannehill has the best season of his career, or at least matches the 2019 or 2020 version of himself. And you are seeing Malik Willis from Will Levis, right? Like you have to see a guy that clearly doesn't have it. And you have to see the best possible version for the, and then it's what, a 2-year deal with a 1-year out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be that expensive of a deal because, like I said, his market is cold, and if his market was any kind of hot, someone would have went ahead and got ahead of the quarterback market and the quarterback, and I'm doing quotation marks for the podcast listeners, the quarterback market of 2024, and every free agent quarterback is going to get paid more than the previous one. Not Ryan Tannehill, because this is the time to do it. So I don't know. Like I guess maybe the Falcons could swoop in and make some big payment if like maybe Ritter gets them like 9-8, but it's kind of like Ritter got drug to 9-8. Like they could come in and say, okay, we're going to pay big bucks for Ryan Tannehill. We're going to win. We're going to make it to the Super Bowl. I don't know. Like, to me, Will Levis has to show enough that they are convinced that next year they have Ryan Tannehill 2.0 minimum.
Yep. I'm a big believer that the Falcons are going to take a jump. I really like the Falcons.
I think they're going to take a jump. Now, I think the Titans are going to beat them, but I think they're going to take a jump.
Totally. They got to buy it. Like the timing of the schedule helps the Titans in that situation, but they know how to run the ball. They've got a nice offensive scheme with Art Smith. They've really racked up a lot of talent. It almost seems too obvious for them not to go get Ryan Tannehill in the offseason next year. Like it seems stupid for them not to even be in the market this season for a trade. Now, maybe the trade was part of them stockpiling talent. Is they still are not. They're not there yet. They're not ready. But I think they are going to. I think you're right that the team is going to carry an inexperienced quarterback to like 9 wins, and then they're going to be very much in the all right. We need the guy now, and I really like that Atlanta team. I think they're going to be really interesting. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're like playoff team necessarily, but I think they're going to be pretty good.
Well, they're a playoff team this year just based on the sheer fact that their division is just putrid.
Well, and the quarterback play in the NFC continues to get worse every year. I mean, all the best players drafted in the AFC.
I think I wrote about
AFC.
Yeah, so today I talk about stackingtheinbox.com. I talk about the Atlanta Falcons game, and one of the storylines to watch is Ryan Tannehill going to be a Falcon or a Titan? Like, which one is he going to be?
Is it pre-deadline? That's right. It is pre-deadline.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, you got your post-June 1st trades. You got, before the trade deadline. But at the end of the day, if Desmond Ridder isn't showing that next jump by, July, August, they could totally still trade for Ryan Tannehill. It's not off the board. If they feel that this team is just right there, they could still trade for Ryan Tannehill, because right now, you look at that landscape. You have the NFC South on lock. Like, you cannot convince me that the Falcons are not winning the NFC South. You bring in Ryan Tannehill among the NFC quarterbacks. He's like number 5 or number 6. He's like a top 5 quarterback in the NFC.
But to your point, they are I agree. This Falcons team with Ryan Tannehill are the clear-cut frontrunner to win the division. And
they're clear-cut frontrunner right now. Right. But if Ritter sucks, that can derail the entirety of this season. And they've spent a lot of money this season.
Here's the problem, is that they're in such similar situations that like Ryan Tannehill really does dictate both of their futures this year. And it's like, right. I don't think the Titans I don't think Will Levis is ready yet. Now, maybe I'm wrong on this, and we'll find this out maybe this week, maybe next week, maybe in minicamp. I don't know. That to your point of what we've learned about Will Levis behind the scenes is that he is enough to do X, Y, or Z. And if he's good enough for them to get to like 6 or 7 wins, then I think you're probably better off trading Tannehill and getting some capital out of the deal. But if you think that there's a chance you can get to 10 wins with Ryan Tannehill, I'm not picking that, because I do agree with Mike Herndon on this, as I've heard on award-winning podcasts, Football and Other F Words, that this roster for the Titans, while I think it's better than what Mike thinks, I still think it is like a lower third roster in the NFL. I think it's like the 23rd, 22nd best roster in the NFL. 21st. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's above average. And so I think that pieces have to hit for that. Rashad Weaver and Elijah Molden and some of these guys that they need to be good.
Some of those guys you just named do not matter to the big scheme of things. They just matter as role players and stuff. Like they could matter if other players get injured, but they don't matter on the outset when you're looking at the schedule.
What I mean is I think they've got a lot of talent, like 1 to 20 on the roster, let's say.
You only need 22.
But you need 47 or whatever to win championships. What I think is
let's be clear. It's not a championship winning team.
No, I know. What I'm saying is they
I'm
could
talking about you only need 20 to be a 10-win team.
I don't know. Maybe you're right. Either way, I think they go from if the middle of the roster is much better than we think, and some of those young players develop, second, third year players, some guys stay healthy, players 20 to 40, if they are significantly better than we think, I think that's where the roster goes from like 22nd in the NFL to like 14th in the NFL. And if you're 14th in the NFL, then you win 10 games, you can host a playoff game, you can win a division, and you've got a good shot to be challenged.
I got them at 5-4 already, and through the first 9 games, I guess you could say, all the way to week 10 where they play Tampa Bay, and they just destroy Tampa Bay. Because let me say something. Now that we're on the subject of Tampa Bay and 10 wins, you sat across from me, maybe either in person or across Zoom, and try to tell me that Baker Mayfield is a good quarterback and that he would be good enough on this team that you should maybe move on from Ryan Tannehill for someone like Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was the dead last efficient quarterback, the least efficient quarterback out of quarterbacks that played 320 passing plays. He was one of the worst last year, and that was with Sean McVay. And he has flamed out with now 4 different offensive head coaches. So this also circles me back to suck on that, you defensive head coaches can't develop quarterbacks, because Sean McVay couldn't get anything out of him. Now he's coming down to Tampa Bay, and I don't care if it's him. I don't care if it's Kyle Trask. By the time that Tampa Bay game is over, it's 5-4 for the Tennessee Titans, and they're looking good to get 5 more wins to get double-digit wins.
I do love the back half of the schedule. I think you said 5-4. Mike Herndon said 2-7. I am in between you two. Just for the record, I am in between you two. I don't think 5-4, but I don't think 2-7. So I'm kind of in 4-5 or 3-6 territory.
Well, it was 3-3, and he was like 1-5 or something.
He was very pessimistic. Yeah,
it's the stupidest fucking shit.
What I would like to say about Baker Mayfield is I think he would have been if you traded Ryan Tannehill and had not drafted Will Levis yet, which was the case at the time of the conversation, that if you're looking for a stopgap cheap quarterback free agent on the rental market for a year, of the names, Sam Darnold or whoever, Teddy Bridgewater, name a name, Baker Mayfield's fine to me, because the point is the point is kind of to suck a little bit. So I was fine with Baker Mayfield. That's what I was trying to say. Of all the names. Okay. Now, what I've done personally in my journey through this, how do you get to 2024? I think you've laid out pretty well how Tannehill can do it. That's a really small, narrow window in my mind. AFC-ish championship game good, and Will Levis has shown you that he's terrible. I think that's a pretty small window of probability, honestly. I think the truth of the matter is Will Levis will show them enough that he is their guy next year, but they're not going to know exactly what he is, and that Tannehill was good enough to be the best quarterback on the team this year and to win some games and to maybe make the playoffs, but is easily time to move on. Like, that's the most likely probability. Derrick Henry, however, I have come around on this, and I need to ask you the contract situation on this, because I could see value for both Derrick Henry and the Titans at 29 years old if he can produce, let's say, 80% of what he did last year on a per game, per carry, per touch basis. I could see a year or two of more production as a package deal in the backfield for Derrick Henry. The question is he willing to come down off his price point? And if that happens, I could see him playing 2 more years for the Titans. Maybe 3.
What is the price point, I guess, that
I don't
think he's going to get, or that he's thinking? Because, again, much like Ryan Tannehill, 10-5 is all it took for some team to trade him, take on that contract, and do a little small extension, and that number comes down, and you got a manageable contract with one of the premier running backs in this league.
And
don't overvalue. Let me say something. Just because Derrick Henry is one of the Titans' greats, he should not overvalue right now his own self-worth. Now, I, too, have come around to this idea that possibly Henry is going to be here, because I feel like there's a money move, a trade move to be made. I still think likely it's with Kevin Byard of some form or fashion, but I feel like there's a money move to be made. And I think that just because they drafted Tyjae Spears in the 3rd, it would not be the worst thing in the world to still do a extension that keeps Derrick Henry here to at least 2026. And it doesn't have to be a big one, and it shouldn't be a big one. And what it means, though, is that you're keeping one of the best players at that position. You got a guy that in Tyjae Spears that is still getting acclimated this year, that is going to get better next year, and you can add some kind of premier weapon next year in some form or fashion to Derrick Henry, to Treylon Burks, to Chig Okonkwo, to Tyjae Spears, to Josh Wiley, for Will Levis. And Will Levis and this offensive line, which what it should be as a pass protection unit, plus Derrick Henry next year is a good thing for this team. Now, if you're a guy that's like me, that struggles with paying running backs and wanting this offense to be entirely different, not a good thing. But it's a smart move, especially if Derrick Henry, now a year removed, he played all the games last year, and he's a year removed from an injury. He's still going strong. He still is a freak athlete. If anybody can get 1,000 yards over 30 at 30 years old, it's going to be him. And in fact, I'd put money that he's probably going to get 1,500 yards. Then it'd be smart to do it now and lock it in and get it done, get it over with. And you kind of make your fan base happy too, for the most part.
So, you know how we talk about players taking hometown discounts, air quotes, right? Hometown discounts. Yeah. I think there's a hometown tax here that could be worth paying if you're the Titans in a couple of scenarios. So I'm kind of agreeing with you here on this one. Number one, Derrick Henry is worth more to this franchise than any other franchise by a small percentage. Call it whatever you want. Call it a goodwill tax. Call it a fan face of the franchise tax. Call it whatever tax you want. 5-10%, right? If he's worth $7 million on the open market, he's worth $8 million here. Fine. I'm okay with understanding that there's a little extra value here because of his value to the franchise, the community, the people, etc. At 29, I think he's going to slow down slowly but surely, but his physical ability will not fall off a cliff as fast as other running backs. So there's another angle. Here's the other one to think about. Why is it that Derrick Henry, I think, is still so physically gifted at his age and his years in the league at 29 years old? Because he wasn't abused with 300 plus touches in his first 3 seasons. Definitely his first 2 seasons. What is it we are concerned about with Tyjae Spears? It is the length of his career being shortened because of the knee, because of usage. Could you extend Tyjae Spears' career 2 years by only giving him X amount of touches in the first couple of years of his career? There's a ripple effect to having Derrick Henry here that maybe it doesn't evolve the offense as fast, but it gives you more value out of even Tyjae Spears potentially. So right. I think you could, and you got $1 billion in cap space in 24, 25, 26. I have come around on all right, it might cost you a few extra dollars, an extra percentage point, whatever that is, 5, 10%, 12%, whatever it might be. He is not worth more than like, I don't know, what do you think, $8-9 million in the open market at most? If he goes to the free agency market next year, I don't think
at most, I don't know, probably a little bit less than that. But that's still like if you got him, like here's what I'll say again. Remember, rollover gets to roll over next year. So he's already going to cost you next year $4.7 million in dead cap money. Okay. He's costing you this year $16.4 million in cap space. If you go ahead and work it out to where you're taking that 4.7 next year and turn it into
8,
10, 8 or 10, and then you're doing the following year. Technically, if you let me back up real quick. If you do an extension that takes you through 2026, it will only be 2.3 or 2.4 and 2.4 dead cap hits that are going to carry over into the new contract. So that restructure bonus of 2.4 and 2.4 the next 2 years, 2024 and 2025, get added into whatever this contract is. So you would be, if you took 2.4 in 2024 and 2.4 in 2025 and turn those into 8 and 10 or 10 and 8 or 8 and 6 respectively, that's a really good deal for your team and for your franchise and really good for your quarterback. Yep. While you're taking down your cap hit this year, that's going to roll over into next year.
Bingo.
And I'll say this, I know that elite free agent wide receivers don't hit the market, but this team is banking on that Treylon Burks is your elite wide receiver. And if he shows that he can be a number 1 wide receiver this year, you don't need another number 1 wide receiver. That's a luxury. You can go get other wide receiver pieces or upgrade other parts of the roster that are aging. So in my mind, I feel like this Derrick Henry, they've been in discussions with his camp. They've already came out and said that. It feels like this contract's going to get touched.
I kind of agree with you. I think the 2 things that we don't know and only Derrick Henry can answer, like by himself in a room, drinking, playing video games and whatever he drinks now. Probably like vitamin water or something. And I don't mean like the brand. I mean like actual water filled with like vitamins. How long does he want to play? Because much like, I don't want to say Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, but like some guys, the amount of work Derrick Henry puts in is off the charts. And if he just reaches a point where he's like, man, I'm 31, 2 years from now with 2 more seasons to go, do I really want to try to go out and grind the way I do in the offseason to come back and get 180 touches for like the Arizona Cardinals? Like we just don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he's just never
like Ryan Tannehill, the team that I would watch to pay for him to make life difficult for the Titans to negotiate in heading into free agency or heading during free agency would be the Buffalo Bills.
Just because that's that he could add.
Maybe James Cook goes off, but they just seem to desperately need a big time running back of some sort.
And the one factor is how much longer is he truly passionate about the amount of work that he puts in, because he puts in more work than everybody else. And it's a lot, man. It is a lot. And especially at that position, it's the pay, like you pay for it during the season. And number 2 is he trying to just get that big max deal, max meaning how max for him and his age and his size and ability? Or is he just sort of like, I've done well with my money. I'm smart. I'm just tired. I'm willing to stay here in Tennessee. I'm still going to make $8 or $9 or $10 million. I still got a couple more years where I can be at home. I'm going to grind it out the way I normally do, but I don't have to go past 32, maybe 31, maybe just 2 more years. And all of a sudden, he's made a pretty good fortune. He stayed here. He breaks every single record. He is beloved in the community forever. And he can kind of go out on his own terms at 31 years old, which is still pretty young, and still maybe have some of his body intact.
Ezekiel Elliott is a cautionary tale for Derrick Henry. Le'Veon Bell is a cautionary tale for Derrick Henry. Ezekiel Elliott's still a free agent. Le'Veon Bell played around and overvalued himself. Derrick Henry, whoever his agent is, which I believe is like Todd Archer or CA, whatever.
CAA, yeah.
They be very careful about what you're whispering into Derrick Henry's ear. The biggest thing is probably, I've said the Bills. The Cowboys could be another one, being that he does train in Dallas sure as hell a lot.
I think you're right. The scariest thing would be a team that's going to trying to win a championship now, that needs a big physical presence and has a little bit of cap space. Like there's maybe 2 or 3 of those teams, and they could absolutely just swoop in and say, yes, we'll give you 11. Where the Titans are like, yeah, we'll give you 8, but we'll do it for 3 more years. Are you willing to do that? Or 9 or 10 or whatever the number is. But I think it is, if you gave me, all right, here, we'll wrap up the conversation on this. Thanks to Sinkers, of course, Beverages, the Kingston Group, all you guys in the comment section. Stoney, change your underwear. I got it. Football and other F words, of course. You got Stack in the Inbox, all kinds of great things to remember. Subscribe, rate, review, and everything. Percentage chance that Derrick Henry is on the 2024 roster, in my mind, is like, it used to be like 20 to 30%. Now it's more like 50-50 in my mind.
Oh, I'm a little higher. I think it's 60%.
Okay.
I'm thinking like 60 or 70% is that he's going to be on this team, because more than likely Derrick Henry is going to continue to be the unicorn that he is, and he is going to start going off this year, and he's going to have every opportunity to prove the doubters wrong, because there ain't nobody to really throw to.
What's interesting about if he goes off this year is it sort of fucks up everything we just talked about. If he goes off, then he's going to feel like he can make more money. And
that's why I think that they're not going to wait until the offseason. I think something's going to happen. Something's going to happen between now and the trade deadline. Okay, so there's going to be an extension, or he's already going to be off the team.
I think I'm with you. I'm even probably willing to go 60-40 on the team in 2024. I think I'm still at 50-50. But Tannehill, 5% chance he's on the team in 2024. I think it is a very, very, very slim percentage.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would probably, unless he decides that, hey, I just really love Nashville. I really love being around my family. You know, I'll take a discount and I'll be your backup quarterback because Malik Willis stinks. And that's a way that he could be on the team, just not as a starter.
There's too many NFL teams that guy that's just steady for Ryan Tannehill to be like, yeah, I'll make $8 million.
I don't know. I still think that, you know, he's like, this could be his last season altogether.
I think there's an almost 0% chance he is on the Titans in 2024. I think we are closer to 50-50 for Henry. That's my personal guess.
Yeah.
That's just my personal guess.
Oh, I'm with you. I mean, I'm way below. I'm like 5% with you. I'm right there.
Other than that, tune in on Thursday. We will announce our very cool giveaway from Sinkers Beverages. Go into the Sinkers Beverages, sign up for the in-crowd. Bluegrass in Hendersonville, sign up for the in-crowd. The only way you're going to be eligible for this prize is going to be if you're signed up for the in-crowd. So don't tell anybody that we didn't tell you this, because we've told you this a bunch of times. Sign up for the in-crowd. Really cool prize we're giving away. We're not going to give it away on Thursday, but we get to announce it and then begin the contest. It's going to be a ton of fun. Kingston Group as well. Also, you can search Uber Eats for Sinkers Beverages, and they'll deliver the booze right to your house, Zach.
They drive so you could drink.
Call the Kingston Group as well, buildkg.com. That just about does it for today. Zach Lyons, make sure everybody follows him on Twitter at FWordsPod, Football and Other F Words Podcast. Of course, you've got stackingtheinbox.com as well. All the other great shows from the 440 Sports Network. If you missed the Mel Kiper interview, make sure you go check that out, of course, on Lamestream Sports. We've got the Gold Standard covering the Preds. Nashville SC's on an absolute tear right now. So if you want to listen to content about them,
sure are.
Club and Country Podcast, great show there. You got Music City Audible. You got Hot Read. You got Fringe Element for SEC football. We got all kinds of shows for you. So go check out all the other great shows. So there you go.
Just real quick, for those listeners who have not talked themselves or found a reason to go watch a game at Geodis Park, Henny Mukhtar he's
insane.
Unfucking believable. And it is like peak Derrick Henry 2,000-yard rushing, peak John Morant, going to the basket before he's gone crazy, and
Steve McNair MVP.
Yeah, this is watching someone at the height of their sport just be amazing every game. It is well worth the really inexpensive tickets to sit in really good seats to go to the game and watch this. Watch some greatness. Nashville sports does not get greatness very often. This is greatness.
It is. Both of my daughters who love Honey Mukhtar do not know his first or last name. Like they just call it
Mukhtar.
They call him Honey Mukhtar. They don't they don't call him Honey. They don't call him Mukhtar. Every time they say his name, it's both first and last names. It's Honey Mukhtar. Like they do the whole thing every time they cheer for him.
To Lucas Panzica do the game, and that's when I've realized that it was Mukhtar, not Mukhtar.
Yes, Honey Mukhtar, Honey Mukhtar. And if you say it with
I've gotten both of his names wrong, and it'll be a hard habit to break, but I'm working on it.
It's okay. It's okay. All that matters is that you're trying. You're just you against yesterday, Zach. Just you against yesterday. No, you're right. He is, and if he's like this much more, he'll be in Europe soon. So enjoy him now while you can.
Yes.
On what is one of the best expansion teams in the history of the MLS. So
I
don't know what for like $20 $20 a game. Go watch him. There you go. Sinkers, Kingston Group, Honey Mukhtar. There you have it. Thanks for hanging out with us. For Zach, I'm Braden. We'll talk to you on Thursday. This has been a football show.